What's happening, guys? We are back. So for this video, I'm mostly going to want to go over some methods we're using for supplemental cat, fish, and dog food. As of late, we've been getting into breeding chickens, and as I state, like roosters, they just don't have that much meat on them. But I really hate to have to cull them and have nothing to do with them. Most people just don't want roosters. And ultimately, when you're breeding, it's something you're going to have to deal with. So we were faced with the choice: do we waste this, opportunity, or do we amplify our benefits from it? So we opted to start making some of our own dog, cat, and fish food. Mostly, this would be a protein source and just good enzymes and stuff. What we chose to do, and disclaimer here: this is definitely probably not for kids. There are going to be some nasty bits, give or take. Uh, so if you're young, please get off. Anywho, um, what we did is basically we culled the chickens. Our method is the traditional killing cone for now. Uh, it's the most humane way we could think of right now. I've heard of other methods, and I prefer to just kind of get it over and done with instantly. It makes us feel better. So anywho, uh, we had two roosters the other day that we actually ended up having to process. Some things happened, and they got into the pen with each other. One jumped into my timeout, and they just kind of fought it out. One of them was bleeding, so we kind of ended his suffering, and the other one had a taste and for some reason wanted to fight all the time. So we went ahead and removed him. We're down to only one rooster. Timeout corner has been opened since, so there's just the one rooster with all the hens. We shouldn't have any more complications. Um, so for the for the roosters, what we did is I had already been grilling that day, so we went ahead and just threw them right on the grill, as is, right out the box. I did cook them thoroughly. We wanted to cook the insides and the outsides, and all of the feathers burned off. Feather meal and bone meal is something that we have a hard time getting here, and I've always struggled with ways to make it. But what I've found is that adding it into your fire and letting it burn down, whatever doesn't burn down, is it'll kind of like crust up, so the bones aren't very firm anymore. They've kind of lost their integrity. So we can get the feather, bone meal, carbon, and wood ash all from the same source, which really benefits us. So, like I said, we cooked them, and then they came out with like a little bit of a black carbon mat on them. So I just took a wire brush, kind of hit them with it real good. Most came off. We chopped the head off, put it back in the wood ash, chopped the feet off, put that back in the wood ash, to finish burning down. And then we processed them. All of their innards we put into a bowl with all of the shredded meat that we hand shredded. Took off the bone. All the bones and stuff and meat that was left went back into the ashes and burnt down, just like I stated. So that way we don't have to worry about, the dogs getting a hold of any meat or choking or anything like that, trying to get that little bit of meat off the bone. And then basically we took that and blended it, and that's the backbone of our protein source. So from there, it's actually pretty cool because the only thing you have to do is obviously always talk to your vets and describe to them what you're trying to do, and make sure it is safe for your animals, which is what we will be doing as well. But right now we're mostly using it as a treat, just to see, because like the animals, we know they can eat it. That's what they would naturally eat in nature. But we want to make sure that their stomach can handle that kind of protein source. So we're giving them in small amounts as a trial. If they're, we're checking their bowel movements and bloating and vomiting and stuff. They're not having any of those, negative signs. Everything's pretty much okay so far. We're gonna go ahead and test it through these roosters. After that, we're actually going to take our recipe to the vet with a list of all of our animals that we'll be using it for, so that way we can nail their nutrient value using different vegetables and herbs that we already have in our garden. So not only would we be supplying our food, we would also be supplying all of our pets' foods. And the fish will be doing something similarly later on. for some of them. So that's pretty much where we stand for now. I'm from we have honestly culled 5 chickens prior to these two. We ended up with a lot of roosters. We had like 7 roosters at one point. So it was a lot. So anywho, we ended up just burying them in a section of the garden under some trees. That's cool and all. I just don't really like. It was just so wasteful for me. Uh, but having them in this source and having the cleanliness of it, most of any potential harmful substances being burned off, I'm absolutely loving it. I feel like we really maximize the use out of the roosters that we're gonna have to be culled pretty much regardless. And if we're gonna be raising our own meat chickens, we are gonna end up with roosters. I don't really want to waste our time on a rooster. I'd rather, us eat the broilers. So, and sometimes roosters just like don't taste that good, is what I've been told. But either way, it's not like we're gonna waste them anymore. The animals will eat them. Everyone will be perfectly healthy. Um, Starting out, I fed a little bit to just the actual like shreds. The reason we actually made it into a paste is because our cats were having a hard time eating it because they've been so used to kibble and wet food for so long, and my dog just didn't want to chew it because again the wet food and having kibble. We actually mix up. She's getting older, so we mix up wet food with her kibble, to kind of help her process it a little bit better. Um, so that we moved it to the paste, and I mean they demolished it. One of our cats, Gypsy, he still didn't really care for it as much, um, but he doesn't really like to have his food changed all the time. Um, and we're just for a note, we're not going to stop feeding them. So the way we're going to be feeding them is actually it's going to be an addition. So we'll make the food, we'll warm it up, give them exactly what they're going to eat that day, every couple days or so, and they will have their dry food and their water the whole time. But what I found with chickens is even if they do have access to the dry food, they're going to go for the one they like the most. So if they're eating the majority over here and it's actually healthy for them and balanced, because we're going to get it cleared through a vet, um, they'll still eat some of their feed, but it can drop our feed costs. So for us, that is a win, especially having as many animals as we have and not really having to pay for food. I mean, it is saving us just on food costs alone. So that's pretty much it on how we're doing food for our animals right now. I will update you guys as soon as we get to the vet. It's not going to be anytime soon because we're not on really any deadline. It's just something we're trying out. So whenever I get the values done for the breeds that we have and stuff, I will share that with you. Um, since we do have different breeds of fish and different breeds of cat and different breeds of dogs, we'll be able to kind of maybe supply a little bit more diverse recipe with you guys. So we'll see you then. Have a good one. Be nice out there. Be kind. Don't forget to like, subscribe, drop a comment. I love answering y'all's questions. So you have a good one, and we will see you in the next time.